If we're talking strictly about aiming, by all rights, a mouse like this should be terrible when compared to modern gaming mice. Yet, almost annoyingly, I aim bizarrely well on it. This is Ragnok's new Ergostrike7 that they sent out to me. It's a vertical gun mouse, clearly designed for immersion. I mean, it even has an optional recoil setting. Now, I don't care at all about this. My area of expertise is aiming, and that's what I'll be covering for this mouse. And this is their previous version. I reviewed this a while back and have since used it quite a bit. It's certainly not optimal for me, but it is a lot of fun. When aiming, a really useful tool for improved control is having the skin of your palm in contact with the mousepad. I even fingertip skate as well, so I have the skin of my fingertips also in contact with the mousepad. This lets you modulate your friction for instant stopping power, tiny micro corrections, or to lighten things up and do large tracking movements. Naturally, that means the base plates of these mice remove that interface, surrendering that extra degree of control. With the old version, if you remove the plate, any wobbling makes your sensor cut out, so it's not a good option, and I ended up reversing the base plate instead. It's not meant to go here, so I added some double-sided tape to help keep it in place. This allowed me to keep that skin contact, and aiming with this setup is shockingly good for me. Certainly not optimal or better than my main mice, but far better than I ever would have expected for such a drastically different mouse. The fixed base, increased weight, and overall size of the Ergostrike7 had me quite worried at first. And while these are all certainly negatives for aiming, I think the ergo in Ergostrike has actually been done pretty well. It's very comfortable and natural to hold, which does count for something. If I set my arm on the desk and just relax, my arm and hand rest at this angle. To use a traditional mouse, I have to apply some degree of effort to rotate and maintain this new angle, whereas this mouse fits in pretty much exactly with that resting position, so it feels almost effortless to hold. The thumb shelf is also very comfortable to rest on, and the side buttons, scroll wheel, and extra fire button are all close enough to conveniently use. This protrusion at the bottom does make the pinky position a bit awkward and squished, and the trigger itself is a bit uncomfortable. It kicks up at the end, and at least for me, my finger rests on the edge, which gets a little painful after a while. You can see they've had a battle between ergonomics and visuals because you have this nice angled handle, but then the trigger and barrel portion of the gun are strictly vertical. There's no practical way to grip the trigger straight on, and your index finger sort of fights against this corner where it straightens up. This is actually your right click, and I quite like this idea. You just squeeze that finger in to actuate it, which is nice and intuitive. I do find that occasionally I will accidentally press it, so it could perhaps be tensioned a little tighter to avoid that. Initially, I've just been using the default layout, but I can reach this button here, which is very easy to press, while also being just about impossible to accidentally press. So for me, it's probably a better idea to bind this one to mouse 2 instead. As for the in-game performance and my aim on this mouse, I found that clicking and flicking was surprisingly good, while tracking was a bit more challenging. And that's interesting, considering that on the previous Ragnok, I found tracking to be really good and flicks to be pretty difficult. So they're essentially opposites, and I'm thinking that a lot of it comes down to mouse sensor position and weight, both of which are drastically different. The lower the mouse sensor is, the slower your mouse sensitivity will feel. Check this out, if I hold this pen low in my palm like the old Ragnok and aim left to right, you get a small arc. Then if I hold it out here like on the Ergostrike7, you get a much wider arc. Same movements, different aim. What makes things tricky is that a flick shot on a very low sensor position like this hardly goes anywhere. You have to use a lot of arm to get it to go further, which is totally fine for tracking, but a detriment for flicking. The really high sensor position of the Ergostrike7 makes flicks easier with this vertical grip because you can better use your wrist for snappy aiming movements. The downside is that for tracking, every little movement feels exaggerated, which is further amplified by the immense 184 gram weight. It takes more effort to change directions and to stop moving, so micro adjustments feel clumsy and over-aimy. Ultimately, I don't really know if I'd change the sensor position. Perhaps something more moderate could work better for tracking, but honestly, I think the main issue for tracking is the weight and the base plate preventing any skin contact. I did actually find and experiment with a grip style that still allowed me to have skin contact and still press all the right buttons. In a vacuum, this does actually perform better purely in regards to aiming, but it's just so finicky and cumbersome that it's not worth the effort. I have to hold it in such a specific way at a specific angle that needs to have the sensor orientation majorly corrected by 45 degrees in raw Excel. So how does the Ergostrike7 stack up against the Fire Grip? Purely in regards to the overall aiming experience, I think it's a tad worse. What it does do better is comfort. It's effortless to hold, solid, has a nice premium feel, whereas the Fire Grip is a bit awkward to grip and has flimsy feeling triggers. I know aimers and your more dedicated FPS players aren't the exact target audience for this product, but that being said, my previous video got a ridiculous number of views, so there seems to be some interest out there for a competitive vertical mouse. In my opinion, to improve the Ergostrike7 to optimize its aiming performance, I would do the following. First, drastically reduce the weight. I know they want it to look like a gun, but for aiming, this solid barrel doesn't need to exist. The flared base here could be removed or once again be a clip-on option so we can have that palm contact with the mouse pad. If this were to happen, the hump at the back here would need to be flatter and steeper as you'd grip it in a slightly upwards position. Instead of transitioning to vertical, simply maintain the current angle. I don't know how difficult it is to do, but having the USB-C port on the side could free up this flared area so they could maintain this angle. Until I get to aim on a mouse like that, I can't truly say how good vertical mice are for aiming. What I do know is that they're far better than I ever expected. I really do enjoy the comfort of the vertical grip and moving my wrist up and down rather than left to right, as it feels more dexterous and controlled. You do lose a lot of the precision granted by your fingers, but not all, and perhaps with the right mouse, that trade-off could be worthwhile. If you are curious about trying out the Ergostrike7 or the Fire Grip and would like to support me, you can use my referral links posted below. My official stance on buying these mice after watching this video is that you should only do so if you are interested in the novelty of aiming on a vertical mouse, or perhaps the challenge of mastering something new. They're not better than traditional modern FPS mice for aiming, although they are closer than you may expect. They are a lot of fun to use, and I have frequently used the Fire Grip since posting that first video, not out of any obligation, just because I wanted to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the potential of vertical mice, or about your experiences if you've ever used one in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.